So a couple months back, I made a video called Why I Stopped Playing Final Fantasy XVI, where I detailed my numerous gripes and complaints with that game, as well as the direction that Square Enix was taking the Final Fantasy franchise. However, I did hold out enormous hope based on what I saw and played with the Final Fantasy VII Remake for the second part in that project, entitled Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. In this video, I am going to be talking about why I can't stop playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And this totally caught me off guard by surprise because I knew I was going to like this game just by watching previews and trailers, but I didn't think I would like it this much. I am having an absolute blast with this game. It is probably my favorite game of the last at least 3 years. Definitely the best PlayStation 5 exclusive, hands down bar none. It takes so much of what made the original Final Fantasy VII great and expands upon it, as well as adding in a bunch of new features, and all of the changes that they make to the story add a whole ton of life to the game and basically give you a lot of details that otherwise wouldn't have been uncovered. They didn't really go into detail too much on certain characters such as Yuffie and others, but in this game they have a ton of light shed on their backstory and their characteristics as well, and the battle system has been revamped ever since Remake. I played a little bit of intermission, not too much, maybe the first chapter or two, because I just wanted to brush up on it before Rebirth came out, because I figured I haven't played it yet, so I might as well play it since I've got the free copy on PS5. I beat Final Fantasy VII Remake not too long ago, maybe a couple months ago, on PS4. Never got around to intermission until recently, but I've been enjoying that as well. They revamped the battle system since Remake, and it's pretty similar to what it was in terms of the button presses and the general feel of it. However, now you have synergy skills and synergy abilities put into the mix, and it is definitely a game changer. They added in this folio slash sphere grid mechanic, where it's kind of like a skill tree slash sphere grid, where you're unlocking abilities to go into your synergy skills, your synergy abilities, and the more you unlock, the better your synergy abilities become. And the thing that is very interesting about these abilities, they are very unique abilities, and they only work with certain party makeups. So if you want to have a certain synergy ability, you got to have, say, Cloud and Tifa in your party, or Barret and Red 13. And that adds in a whole new level of depth and strategy that wasn't there in the first original game. Nevertheless, the original Final Fantasy VII Remake, the first game that only took place in Midgar. And that was definitely a decision that I was a little hesitant about going into that game, but it was definitely the right choice, because that section of a game, basically, even in the original, felt like its own thing. So I definitely can appreciate that in hindsight after beating the game. It was definitely its own fully fleshed out story in that game. However, I do have a couple of gripes with Remake that I don't have with Rebirth. So pretty much everything in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth right from the get-go is very, very almost 1-1 with the original. It doesn't really get too different story-wise from the original until, honestly, Junon, however you pronounce it. They pronounce it Junon, I've always said Junon. But until you get to a certain point in Junon, it's pretty much identical, 1-1 to the original Final Fantasy VII. Albeit there are some different things that are thrown in the mix in order to provide a sense of dread or a sense of urgency, such as Shinra catching up to you in Calm, which doesn't happen in the original. But I am not going to spoil the game for you guys. I just want to tell you, if you have not picked up Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it is the best PlayStation 5 exclusive. They also throw in a couple of mini-games, such as Fort Condor, which was in intermission, and a new card game called Queen's Blood, which I haven't actually gotten around to playing. I skipped the tutorial, unfortunately, and now I'm on a ship to Costa del Sol where there's a mandatory Queen's Blood tournament. So I will probably be playing that tonight after I make this video and edit it, hopefully. We'll have to see how that goes. This is the first video I have made in a number of months, but I had to get it on record that I love this game. So far, it's been out only for 6 days, and it is just absolutely amazing. It is blowing my mind. It is a world that I have spent, I want to say 15 or 16 hours in, and that's just in the last 6 days. I've spent the same amount of time in 16's world, but it feels like a slog compared to that. I have compared to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where I am just entrenched in everything. I've spent 15 or 16 hours in Rebirth, and I am only up to the point where I'm almost to Costa del Sol, so I'm not even like a third into the game, and I absolutely love it. So if you liked Rebirth, you will, or if you liked Remake, I should say, you will like this game, and it doesn't deviate from the story as much so far where I'm at. I haven't beaten the game yet. I haven't gotten a decent way in. It doesn't deviate from the original as much as Remake did so far where I'm at in this game. I've heard some spoilers on what the ending is like just because I couldn't resist asking a certain question about a certain character's fate, and it does deviate a little bit, but the same thing essentially happens. Not to spoil anything, but I'll just leave it in those vaguest of terms. So this is a great game. This is a wonderful step in the right direction for Square Enix, and this is exactly why Final Fantasy XVI didn't sway me into the dark ages of Final Fantasy territory that a lot of people had lost hope with back in 2011, 2010 to 2013 or 14 with the 13 trilogy, the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy, where a lot of people were really losing hope that Square could actually come back and make a decent Final Fantasy. It was that dark age period where there wasn't a lot of hope that they could come and actually make a decent game. And I remember it. Pretty much everything about Final Fantasy, when you mention it, was very negative and very slanted. A lot of people were weighted towards, there's a lot of Americanized or Western influences in a lot of the trends. Everything had to be more action-y, and that, to a certain degree, that is still happening, but there's a lot more JRPG elements that were instilled in a lot of modern RPGs today, because that has made a bit of a resurgence as far as popularity goes. So we are back on track. This is a great game. I cannot say it enough. All the characters are fully fleshed out, and there's a lot of things that I kind of missed in the original that this game has kind of reminded me about and shed a new light on. And I could just say, oh yeah, I remember that part in the original. Yeah, I remember how that went. I wonder how they're going to do this. It's always that question. And when it comes to these new landscapes, such as the world of Final Fantasy VII, Gaia, some people call it Gaia, but in Final Fantasy VII, they just call it the planet. The world is absolutely incredible. It is a blast to explore. You will find so many new things just wandering around in your chocobos, and it's just a blast. There's a lot of mini games. There's a lot of stuff to do, a lot of intel, that's what they call it, that you can discover, a lot of things. You can even take pictures and report to one of the local photographers, and he'll grade you on your pictures. Same with sheet music, with pianos. You can actually play the piano, and the whole thing is revamped to be 100% better than the original, where you could only play like a certain couple melodies with the keys being mapped to the buttons. However, in this game, the keys that you can play for the piano are mapped to the analog stick, which is a lot better because you can get a lot more out of it, and it's so much fun. You can find sheet music and get graded, and if you get an A rank, you get rewards from the composer that you can report your progress to. So it is a lot of fun. Great game. I love it. That's pretty much all I have to say. Keep calm and rock on, guys. I am back. And one final note, I gotta get this out. It had to be said, I have not made a video in about, what has it been, 4 or 5 months already. So basically the issue with that is I was sick for about 2 or 3 whole months of that. So most of the time I was absolutely sick. I was coughing up a storm. I had throat problems, so I couldn't speak. And it was just a general lack of motivation, to be honest with you. And now that I have something that I actually want to talk about, and I feel like it hasn't been done to death, like some of the other ideas that I had, like the death of physical media, and there was a bunch of stuff that I was really passionate about, but I felt like everything I had to say had already been said in other videos and in other topics, other forums, and I've basically discussed that project to death. And I've even recorded a video of it, but it was absolutely awful. So it's probably a good thing that my card got corrupted, or my file got corrupted as I was editing that, because it was an absolute mess. So basically, I just had a lack of motivation, and I don't really have a lot in terms of equipment to be editing these videos. I mean, I'm still using the same stuff I was using in 2020 with the Sharefactory and importing it from my phone to my computer to Sharefactory on PS4 and 5. It's kind of a hassle to put these videos together, and if I could get some sort of idea about what to use for a video editor, that would be great. I would be able to put these videos together a lot faster, and it's just one of those things where it's just a hobby for me. I do it whenever I feel like it, so I'm not really like invested into this full time like I once was. But if I have something that I want to talk about, I will talk about it, and that's basically where I'm at. So it's been a really long time since I posted a video, and I didn't want to include this in the front half because then a lot of people would just click off of it before I even got into the main topic of this video. And that is pretty much all I have to say for that. I hope to be back with more content, but if I am not, fear not, because whenever I feel like making a video, I will make a video. So that is truly it. I'm Midnight Strike 3625. Like and subscribe down below, as YouTube loves, or actually I think it's over here now on desktop. Who knows with YouTube these days. That's what YouTube loves to say, is like and subscribe. They love it for the algorithm. This is Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.